Hi, this is Sam and welcome to Logic. In today's vocabulary video, I want to go through a list of words that I wish were taught in school and that I really do not understand why they're not, because they're extremely important and useful, not only because of their meaning, but also because we use them quite often in everyday spoken English, some more than others obviously. At the end of the video, I would like you to tell me which words you already knew and which ones were new to you. One of my favourite words, not because I like the idea that it expresses, but I like the fact that there is a word that encapsulates that idea, and I love the sound of the word, is the verb to patronise someone. It's extremely common and it means that you treat someone and you talk to them as if they were stupid, less important, less intelligent, less knowledgeable, and usually you do that by being seemingly nice. You hear it a lot in films, it's extremely common within couples when they fight, and I really do not understand why I have never come across it in an English book. The most common usages of this word are simply, don't patronise me, stop patronising me. Again, especially within couples. But you can also say, we used to like him as a colleague, but now that he's our manager, we don't appreciate how he patronises us, meaning that now that he is in a position of power, he talks down to us and he treats us as if we were stupid. From the verb patronise, you get the adjective patronising. You can say that as a manager, he is very patronising. This is by far the main and most used meaning of the verb to patronise. There are two more meanings which are extremely uncommon, to the point where this next one is basically non-existent. But to patronise also means that you are a regular customer of a shop or restaurant. So you can say that the new pub was so welcoming that it was patronised by all the locals. Now, this is technically, grammatically correct, and you can say it, and maybe in a C2 exam they do expect you to know this word with this meaning, but nobody on this planet would ever say it. It's extremely jarring, so I highly recommend you do not use it like that, but this is just a fun fact for you to know. There's something very interesting about the third meaning of this word, which is to financially support artists and organisations. You can say her family have been patronising the National Gallery for years, which means they've been supporting it by giving donations, basically. What is interesting about this is that from the verb to patronise, we get patron. A patron is someone who financially supports artists. And from the word patron, we get the app Patreon, which is an app that you can use to support YouTubers or artists by giving them money. The next three words are very typically British, so you may not hear them a lot in America, and they're fairly formal. We use them a lot in everyday English, but maybe do not use them in an English exam. The first word is gobsmacked, which means extremely surprised and shocked to the point where you can't speak, figuratively, and it comes from the word gob, which is an informal and not very sophisticated, if not slightly rude, way to say mouth. But gobsmacked is not a rude word. In a sentence, you can say, I was completely gobsmacked when he told me he wanted to sell the house and go and live in the Maldives. That means that you were completely shocked and you were lost for words. Two very popular words over here in England are knackered and shattered, which mean extremely tired, exhausted. In a sentence, you can say, I'm not going out tonight because I'm absolutely knackered, or I'm absolutely shattered. I love the sound of the next word, which is endure. As you can see, the phonetic transcription gives you the diphthong ua at the end, but that's extremely old and obsolete, and we don't say that anymore, and we swap that for a long or. Technically we should say endure, but we only say endure. Endure, which is a formal way to say to tolerate, to stand, to suffer and be in a difficult and painful situation for a long time without complaining or quitting. The pain that you suffer can be physical and or mental. Women always say that men could never endure the excruciating pain of giving birth. As a child, I had to endure a lot of mental and physical abuse from my parents. The country has endured years of political instability. For years, I endured living in a house share. Being in a relationship is hard work, but we endure because it's worth it. From the verb endure, we get the noun endurance, which is the ability to keep doing and sustaining something difficult over an extended period of time. At the gym, physical endurance is the ability to sustain physical strain brought on by continuous exercise. A second and similar meaning of the verb endure is to continue existing for a long time. In a sentence, you can say that despite the distance between us, our friendship has endured for decades, meaning that it hasn't died and we are still friends now. The verb to settle has endless meanings. It also has endless phrasal verbs whose meanings are just as endless, but for today we're only going to focus on the phrasal verb to settle for something or someone, which means that you accept something or someone even though they are not the best or exactly what you want. In a sentence, you can say that it's always been my dream to live a relaxing life by the beach, but for financial reasons, I've had to settle for a career in a busy city, meaning that the career in the busy city that you have now was never your first choice, it was never your first dream, but you've had to content yourself with that choice because you couldn't really get your first one, which was a life by the beach. I want full credit for my work as the sole creator of my music, and I won't settle for anything less means that I will not accept anything other than full credit. The phrasal verb is to settle for something, but when we don't want to say the something, we simply use to settle. Your friend could tell you, I know this is not the life that you wanted and I'm worried you might be settling. What does this mean? Your friend can see that maybe you are not happy with your career choice that you've made because your friend knows that this job is not what you've always wanted to do. It can also refer to a partner. Maybe your friend can see that you're not 100% happy with your partner, but you are still deciding to carry on the relationship because you don't want to look for anything else. You are scared, you might be alone. So you are not with the best person in the world, but you are contenting yourself with the fact that someone is there and you're going to make yourself be happy about it. Next up is the adjective fickle. Related to the weather, it means unpredictably changeable weather. In a sentence, you can say the weather is so fickle now that it's hard to plan a picnic because you never know if it's going to pour down with rain. Related to a person, it's a negative way to describe someone unreliable because they change their mind constantly and unpredictably. You can say, I can't plan anything in advance with her because she's so fickle that she always changes her mind last minute. Another word I love the sound of is condone, which means that you accept, allow, forgive morally wrong behavior. In a sentence, you can say, if the country sees the government condones violence, that could easily snowball into a series of catastrophic events, which means that if we as people see that the government is okay with violence, it allows it, it forgives it, chances are we'll all start being violent towards each other and that will lead to a catastrophe for the world. If you don't tolerate any kind of bullying, you can say we don't condone any kind of bullying in the workplace. A fairly common thing to say, especially in interviews, is I'm not condoning what she's done, but as someone who's gone through the same thing, I can understand where she's coming from. That means that I do understand what she felt because I can sympathize with her because I've gone through the same, but I still don't accept how she decided to then react to it. A very important word nowadays is camp. As a noun and verb, we all know that it basically refers to sleeping in a tent, more or less. But what is often overlooked is its meaning as an adjective. It essentially means effeminate. A camp man has mannerisms thought of as typical of a gay person. The way he moves, the way he talks, the way he is theatrical, the fact that he wears and likes bright colours. I am camp because I do all of that. It's not necessarily an insult, although some men could feel hurt in their masculinity. It's basically a way to describe someone's mannerisms as a fact rather than an insult. We have butch men who are the very macho, masculine ones, but we also have men who are a little bit more in touch with their feminine side and who are a little bit more flamboyant in the way they dress, they speak, they talk, they move their hands like I do all the time. So that does not necessarily mean they're gay, they're just a little camp, a little bit more effeminate, which is not to be taken as an insult. Now, it's just a coincidence that I am gay, but that's beside the point. And this same difference applies to gay men as well. You have very butch gay men and very camp gay men. It's basically a preference. Some women or men prefer butch men as their life partner, and some people don't mind having someone who is a little bit more camp. So you can say that I don't like Tom romantically because he's a little bit too much on the camp side for me. I prefer butcher men. That is not an insult. It doesn't mean that Tom is necessarily gay. Maybe he's straight with a little bit more of a feminine trait to him. But again, that is not meant as an insult, and Tom shouldn't be offended. Some men, especially nowadays, are very happy to be more in touch with their feminine side because it's more socially accepted. Since camp is often associated with the idea of something unusual, flamboyant, using bright and brash colours full of loud sounds, it can be used to describe things as well. A musical can be camp with all the music, with all the lights, the colours. Christmas is often considered camp because you have lights and colours everywhere. The last word is the verb to scorch, which means to burn the surface of something to the point where it changes colour, usually by turning black. You can say that the walls were left completely scorched by the fire. This summer, the intense heat and sunlight scorched all the flowers in my garden. The burning sand scorched our feet, which in this case did not change colour, but you get the idea. But actually, we don't usually use scorch as a verb. We use scorching as an adjective. You can say, I can't stand this scorching heat anymore. It was scorching hot in the park to the point where I had to go back home. The noun scorcher means a very hot day. Tomorrow is going to be a scorcher. And that's it for today. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe to my channel down below. And do let me know in the comments if you already knew these words, which ones you already knew and which ones you didn't. And if you have any questions related to the meanings that I've explained today. In the meantime, I will see you on Tuesday with another explanation video.